I beg to move that this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. Mark Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm glad to have secured this debate on children's social care in North East England. I'm also grateful to honourable members who have stayed behind, perhaps slightly later than they might have expected, for this debate this evening. I wish to begin, of course, by declaring an interest, because a huge proportion of those who work in social care will be members of Unison, and I'm proud to say that I'm a former national official of that trade union, as well as, alongside my honourable friend, the member for Blaydon and Consett, co-chair of their parliamentary group. Last month I visited Caedmon Primary School, a wonderful community school based in Bensham, at the heart of my community. I met teachers, support staff, school leaders and parents, all pulling in the same direction to break down barriers to opportunity for every child in the school. I met with parents who over the past 2 years have organised a half-termly uniform drive, a swap shop, a place for parents and children to come together to share the uniform their children have grown out of. It was primarily set up to reduce clothing waste going to landfill, but the impact has been so much greater. Caedmon serves a diverse community and families from a real mix of economic and social backgrounds. And following the cost of living crisis and, quite frankly, 2 decades of economic hardship and austerity that Gateshead has experienced, the cost of uniform is a financial barrier to families for accessing education. The drive is helping parents to save hundreds of pounds every year. This project is underpinned by the school's recognition of the systemic causes of poverty and inequality that have held too many children back. Head teacher, the remarkable Mr Wisby, has instilled in Caedmon School a strong set of values based on the practice of radical candour. It creates an environment for honest conversations between staff, parents and pupils, often facing very challenging circumstances. Through radical candour, Caedmon parents know staff are acting in the best interests of their child, even if it involves tough conversations and challenge. I dare say we could perhaps do with a little more radical candour in this place from time to time. It's about getting to the root of the problem rather than treating the symptoms. Caedmon is tackling the causes of poverty and inequality that would otherwise hold their children back. And they are just one example in my community of real transformative work on the ground. Madam Deputy Speaker, we in this place need to have a candid conversation about the challenges children's services are facing in the North East and how we tackle the root causes of poverty and inequality that have been suffocating my region over the last 2 decades.
Will the honourable member give way?
I will, of course.
I thank the honourable member for giving way and join with him in praising Caedmon and all the other schools in Gateshead, including those in my constituency. And will he agree with me that our proposal that every child should have breakfast before school is going to be one way, an important way, of tackling those poverty issues, with more to follow?
I thank my honourable friend and I echo her praise for schools across Gateshead, indeed across the wider North East, which I'm sure we will cover today. The changes being brought forward in the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill are obviously going to make a profound impact in terms of breakfast clubs, but also, going back to what I said about school uniform at Caedmon, the cost of uniforms by limiting to only 3 branded items of school uniform, that is going to have a massive difference in communities like mine and in my honourable friends. Because compared to other parts of the country, the North East faces the lowest life expectancy at birth, high levels of economic activity, the lowest pay and, disgracefully, the highest rates of child poverty in the UK. Worse, it continues to grow. 14 years of Conservative austerity and public service cuts have destroyed our safety net, our social fabric, and turned back the clock on opportunity for children and young people in our region.
Will my honourable friend give way?
I will.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way and for having secured this important debate, and the very fluent speech that he's giving is raising many of the core issues. In County Durham, we've got a particular issue with children's mental health, especially since the pandemic, where it's having to be picked up by social care rather than the NHS as it traditionally was. In amongst all the other profound, deep-rooted problems that my honourable friend has set out, would you agree that this is an issue across the region and possibly also a national one?
I very much agree with my honourable friend and constituency neighbour. This is a huge problem. It also increases the pressure on children's social care, which already, as all of us in this place I'm sure are aware, takes up a huge proportion of local government budgets, something very relevant to those of us who sat through the local government finance settlement debate today. And children's social care is locked in a vicious cycle. Chronic underfunding has led far too many children to reach crisis point, pushing, as he says, more and more children into the care system. Many local authorities have been left with little choice but to spend an increasing proportion of their limited funds on late intervention and to reduce investment in early support for families and young people.
Thank you. One of the biggest cost savings for children's social care are kinship carers. These are unsung heroes who do a great deal to care for children, often in very difficult circumstances, but often they feel that the state is not there to support them in that work. So does my honourable friend agree with me that more needs to be done to properly recognise the contribution that's made by kinship carers?
Friend, for raising the vital issue of kinship carers. It's something that's very dear to my heart. Gateshead's kinship care programme is something I'm particularly proud of. They've delivered a programme that has seen the majority of children be able to safely remain in the care of their family or trusted kin, maintaining a stable family environment and protecting children and preventing them from entering the care system. It's a key intervention that is making a real difference in Gateshead.
Friend give way?
I will, of course.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way, and further to the point my honourable friend, the member for Bishop Auckland, made about kinship care. Many of my constituents have benefited from the Family Rights Group, which provides advocacy and indeed saves the Exchequer many tens of millions of pounds. I wonder if my honourable friend might join me in commending the work of the Family Rights Group and expressing a hope that their funding might continue into the next financial year.
I thank my honourable friend for that excellent point, and it does save a huge amount of money and do incredibly valuable work. And it is important to talk about the funding here. The funding for children's services is incredibly important. Since 2010, for example, Gateshead Council's budget has been cut to the bone. The children's service has been cut by a staggering £31 million, driven by huge and frankly unfair cuts. And the people of Gateshead have been the ones who've had to pay for this in every sense of the word. We all remember the former Prime Minister's comments about removing funding from areas of need, places like Gateshead, places represented very much by those on these benches here today, all to give to areas whose needs are, I'm afraid, deserving but less acute. But against the odds, Gateshead Council's children's services have recently been praised for their hard work to prioritise prevention and early intervention, and have been recognised by Ofsted for their dedication to our children and young people.
Well, that was a friend give way.
We're happy to do
On a high note, as my honourable friend is saying now, would you also commend North Tyneside Council, who for the second consecutive time have been awarded outstanding for children's services by Ofsted, and on all 5 counts. And I just say this is probably something, very quickly, Madam Chair. They've said an exceptional early help service through to a meaningful offer for care leavers. Children receive the best possible support. Isn't that what we want for all our children in the North East?
I couldn't agree more with my honourable friend, and I commend very much North Tyneside Children's Services, as also I commend and echo Ofsted's recognition for Gateshead Council's Children's Services, and place on the record my personal gratitude to all of the staff in Gateshead's Children's Services, Director Helen Ferguson, no relation, and Councillor Gary Haley for their strong leadership and strong focus on corporate parenting.
Can I join the honourable member in congratulating Gateshead Council and particularly the staff in the work that they are doing to improve children's services and to achieve that good rating.
thank and agree with my honourable friend. We both have experience of representing in the workplace those who stand up for children in and across local government as well as in the health service, and I know we share a passion for the work that they do, and they do not always get the credit and commendation in this place as much, or any place in reality, that we would like them to have. And it should not just be when they receive their Ofsted reports that we praise them, but it is, of course, an important opportunity for us to do so.
Will my honourable friend give
Absolutely.
I'm very grateful to him for giving way, and thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I draw attention to my declaration and register of interests. He and I previously both advocated and represented those workers in children's social care for Unison and G&B respectively. Does he agree that the driving up of pay and terms and conditions for those workers is just as important in children's social services as it is in adult social services?
I absolutely agree with my honourable friend, and I want to commend him for the huge amount of work that he has put into the Employment Rights Bill and several other important pieces of forthcoming legislation that will have a huge impact on the lives of not only those working in children's services, but frankly, the children who they seek to serve. We are very fortunate to have him and his experience in this place. I want to take a chance to highlight some of the particular successes that Gateshead Council has had recently with the remainder of my time in this debate. Gateshead Council's multi-agency approach is thriving. Despite every effort of consecutive Conservative governments to tear down Sure Start, Gateshead's Labour councillors went to great lengths to protect children's centres through austerity. In fact, they've now managed to almost double the number of operating family hubs. These decisions meant the Council was able to build a locality-based family hub scheme at pace, ensuring Gateshead families weren't left short. We on this side of the House know that the evidence is clear. Children who grew up with the access to a Sure Start centre had higher GCSE outcomes than those who did not. This kind of early intervention leads to better outcomes at every developmental stage. Family hubs deliver everything from neonatal classes, childcare, speech and language support, right through to employment support and welfare advice. Bernardo's rightly described them as the nerve centre of our communities. And our Mayor Kim McGuinness and the North East Combined Authority are building on this great work. Kim's newly established Child Poverty Reduction Unit is the first of its kind and provides an extra layer to this key community-based early intervention. In just months, her funded programmes like Welfare at the School Gates have been rolled out across Gateshead to plug the gaps. Her launchpad for literacy and reading fluency programmes are already breaking down barriers in communities like mine. Labour at every level is following the evidence. Early intervention is best. Late intervention is harmful. By design, it requires a family and the child in question to reach crisis point before they can access any meaningful support. This government, I know, is serious about supporting children's services to address the chasm of inequalities the children in the North East face. So I welcome this government's investment, including the £1.29 million of prevention funding. I welcome too the raft of measures, as we've already referred to in the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, a child-centred social care system that delivers the best start in life, 44 million for kinship and foster care, and 90 million to expand placement sufficiency in local authority-owned residential children's homes, helping our most vulnerable children and young people. Strengthening Ofsted's powers to allow them to act quickly against unregistered provision, greater regulation of placements, and ensuring that care comes before profit will also benefit our children. Gateshead's success has partly been built on their commitment to a happy, supported and directly employed social work team. I welcome the government's new standards to limit the use of agency workers by local authorities in children's social care by giving the Secretary of State the power to make new regulations. Madam Deputy Speaker, there is so much good work taking place in local authorities like Gateshead. However, questions remain over the time-limited funding in place for family hubs. So I will conclude by asking if the Minister can outline the government's plans to fund early intervention-driven children's services, which are so vital in communities like mine.
Janet Daby.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Gateshead Central and Wickham, on securing this debate. And he is absolutely right. Early intervention is indeed the best. And I would also like to respond to him and to other honourable friends on this significant adjournment debate. And I've heard them speak about kinship care, mental health, breakfast clubs, early help, care leavers, and of course I'll be responding to my honourable friend himself. I was thrilled to hear that Gateshead's council achieved a rating of good across all areas of their children's services in the Ofsted report published last week. The report highlights the strength of their early help service, the robust multi-agency collaboration, the strong leadership and the effective support for care leavers in their transition to independence, including a focus on education, employment and training alongside their well-being and aspirations. And this report was published only a few weeks after another North Eastern Council North Tyneside secured an outstanding result across all areas of their children's services, which is a phenomenal achievement. Children's social care in the North East region boasts 2/3 of their council's children's services having been rated by Ofsted as either good or outstanding. And at their last inspection, whilst this line was the national average, it is impressive given the North Eastern's economic backdrop. 2/3 of local authorities in the North East are classified as highly deprived, making it the most deprived region in England. The link between high deprivation and high demand is clear. So it is of no surprise that demand for children's social care services is high in the North East. They have roughly 1/3 more children per 10,000 who are subject to a child in need plan, on a child protection plan, or who are looked after compared to the national average. This is the highest of any region in England. The number of children in care has also grown faster in the North East than any other region. With that said, it is worth noting that the whole country has seen the number of children in care rise significantly under the previous government, with more than 80,000 children and young people in care on any given day across England. I'll give way.
I thank the Minister for highlighting the rise of the children in care. Will she acknowledge the link that there is between growing numbers of children in care and the effects of 14 years of austerity?
My honourable friend is absolutely right. Where money is consistently taken out of services, public services, voluntary services, and investment isn't made in public workers, then absolutely that drives down our public services and very much so our children's social care. I couldn't agree with him more. Many live far from their homes, families and communities, and the cost of care has spiralled in recent years. It is crucial to understand that the challenges facing the children's social care system extend beyond financial issues. These problems were highlighted in the 2020 review led by my honourable friend, the member for Whitehaven and Workington. The Competition and Markets Authority also reported on the deficiencies in the children's social care market that same year. Both called for actions, yet 2 years later, no significant changes have been made. Within 4 months of being elected, this government outlined its vision and approach to reform in the document Keeping Children Safe and Helping Families Thrive. Our reformed strategy aims to dismantle barriers by shifting the focus of the children's social care system to early support, preventing crises and keeping families together. Just as my honourable friend for Gateshead, Central and Wickham stated, early intervention is the best. I think that's going to be one of my new sentences actually. Our plans will ensure children can stay with their families, support more children to live with kinship carers or foster families, and fix the broken care market to tackle profiteering and prioritising children's needs. We're pleased to see that local authorities across the North East have been so active in exploring new reforms and policies by their involvement in a wide range of pathfinders and pilots. Now, with regards to care leavers, for those young people leaving care, we recognise that they often experience poor outcomes in various aspects of their lives, and we are committed to ensuring that they have stable homes, access to health services, support to build long life, loving relationships, and opportunities for education, employment, and training. There are many things that this government aspires to do in this space, and we are getting on and we are doing the job. We are also providing funding to local authorities to support care leavers that wish to stay living with their foster families up to the age of 21 through an initiative called Stay and Put, and have increased support for young people leaving residential care through the Stay in Close programme. Additional funding has also been given to local authorities to provide extra support to care leavers at high risk of rough sleeping. In response to school uniforms, the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill includes measures to limit the number of branded uniform items that schools can require. School uniforms should be affordable for parents, and branded items are often more expensive than non-branded equivalents. So it is right that we will limit the number of branded items schools can require. And it's encouraging to hear about his school in particular, Caitlin, which sounds like a wonderful school, and I'm sure he has many other wonderful schools across his constituency, as we do also. With regards to breakfast clubs, this department is working intensively on the delivery plans for breakfast clubs, and we will be working with 750 early adopter schools from this April to ensure we get implementation funding and support resources right before a national rollout of new breakfast clubs. We published our funding methodology alongside guidance for early adopters on the 16th of January, and we will work closely with schools on these rates to ensure it was sufficient for the ask. Funding, of course, for national rollout is subject to the next spending review, and as we learn from more early adopters to help develop our statutory guidance and support packages, more information will be made available. With regards to mental health, it's absolutely right to mention the well-being of children, and it's a very prevalent and very relevant conversation. This government is determined to make sure that children have the mental health support that they need in our schools and, of course, being delivered by our health services. Now, in response to kinship carers take on a role at a time when they were least expecting to raise a family and recognise the challenges they face. And we recognise as a government the very serious challenges they face, including financial ones. We recently announced a 40 million package to trial a new kinship allowance to test whether paying an allowance to cover the additional cost of supporting the child can help increase the number of children taken in by family members and friends. This is the single biggest investment made by any government in kinship care to date. We are also legislating to mandate all local authorities to publish a kinship local offer, ensuring transparency and accessibility of information for kinship families. There's much more we need to do in this space, and I indeed recognise all of the organisations that work in the kinship space, whether they're charities or business or however they support kinship families. They have my support and encouragement. I'm enormously grateful to my honourable friend for speaking so eloquently about children's social care. Early intervention, prevention work is needed, whether that's with family hubs, making sure that children at a young age get the support they need and the families get the support they need, and keeping families together as much as we can is crucial to how this government will continue to work. Now, the social care system is a subject that means a great deal to me, and to which I have dedicated so much of my working life to, and I'm honoured to be in this position in government. Our opportunity mission is focused on breaking the link between children's background and their success. I'm determined to improve the life chances and support for children from deprived and disadvantaged backgrounds. This government set out an ambitious plan to reform children's social care, backed by new funding and legislation, prioritising the voice of the child and working in partnership with local government. We will deliver lasting change for the most vulnerable children in our society. Thank you, Madam Deputy Chair.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Order, order.